are two words that make football players and club presidents smile or suffocate, depending on which side of the payment you're on. Transfer fees. Two Argentinian forwards have been involved in their fair share of transfers. Both of them are devastating in the 18-yard box and just as devastating to the pocketbook. Hernan Crespo or Carlos Tevez. If you're planning on purchasing an Argentine striker to rain goals in your forward line, be prepared to mortgage every home in your neighborhood. To have Hernan Crespo on your team in 2000, it would have cost you a then world record 41 million American dollars. After 3 years at home with River Plate, Crespo was brilliant at Parma in Serie A. That's when Lazio saw the dollar signs. But after only 2 years and despite 48 goals in 73 matches, he would end up at Internazionale. The goals kept coming, but so did the transfers. Chelsea was next on the list, then loaned to Milan the following campaign. It felt like Crespo was playing ping-pong for the remainder of his career. Chelsea, Milan, back to Chelsea, and then on to Inter on a so-called permanent transfer before packing his bags for Genoa and retiring where his European career began, in Parma. A bid was made for his services by the newly created Indian Football League, but he never made an appearance because the league never got off the ground. Finishing with 271 goals in 608 matches, Crespo struggled to find a permanent home, even though he was committed to every kit he'd wear. In 2005, you could have landed Carlos Tevez for a South American transfer record 22 million American dollars. He'd thank Brazilian side Corinthians for their record investment by captaining them to the 2005 Campeonato Brasileiro title. But with the help of his management team, he'd become just as reputable for his transfer sagas. Halfway through 2006, Tevez refused to play for Corinthians, who then sold him to West Ham United. But in 2007, West Ham was fined for breaching Premier League transfer rules by fielding Tevez ineligibly. After Carlo Ancelotti got his phone number of Hernan Crespo to try and convince him to join him in Chelsea, Tevez would sign with Manchester United, albeit on a 2-year loan deal. It was a tumultuous time for Tevez at Old Trafford. 19 goals in 2 years, including their 2008 treble year, could have cemented his place on the team. But Tevez was unhappy coming off the bench, and when United tried to work a deal with his management team, they said their client wasn't interested. In 2009, Tevez would sign with crosstown rivals Manchester City for a British transfer record of £47 million. He'd quickly make a name for himself, winning Player of the Year for the club and even more the captain's armband. But then he caught the transfer bug again, which culminated in a confusing scene against Bayern Munich in a Champions League match, when he allegedly refused to come on as a substitute. Tevez was suspended, which gave the club a chance to examine what to do with their unstable forward, while giving Tevez a chance to caddy for his good golfing buddy, Andres Romero. After a bitter standoff, he patched things up with City, but with his ultimate desire to return home to Boca Juniors, he's here today, transferred tomorrow. Hernan Crespo had to constantly contend with other high-skilled forwards for a spot on the national team, namely their all-time leading goalscorer, Gabriel Batistuta. He still scored 35 goals for the Albicelestes and ranks just behind Batigol all-time and is a 96 Summer Olympics silver medalist. Carlos Tevez has had a hit-and-miss international career, scoring goals in the 2006 and 2010 World Cup and 2 red cards on the road to 2010 qualification. He's also been hit-and-miss in his private life. He had appeared devoted to his wife Vanessa and their 2 daughters, and in goal celebrations he would pull a baby's dummy out from his shorts and put it in his mouth. But that's been replaced by the Tevez dance, perhaps a symbolic reflection of flings with models and a 19-year-old actress. He's also a successful musician, with his group Piola Vago charting back in Argentina. Through all the messy transfers and confusion of loyalty, there is one thing that remains unchangeable in his life: his roots. Growing up in working-class Buenos Aires is a challenging experience for any young boy. Tevez was born in a neighborhood known as Fuerte Apache, and the Apache wears his nickname as proud as the scar that runs down his neck. Tevez claims the trademark scar is part of who he was and who he is today. It's both dramatic and flawed, much like his transfer-filled career.